Hi. This video is about the fact that I have telepathy. That means that when people come and want to speak with me, they appear in my mind. And so this isn't something that happens every time. I don't constantly experience this. It's not something where 24 hours a day I hear people think of me. Maybe that's exactly how often people think of me. I like is when this occurs, but I don't believe that's the case. And so one thing that I want to address before we get into this is if you don't believe me, try and take like what I say here as an exercise of what you would do or think if you were in the exact same position. So an example of this telepathy occurring recently is a friend of mine and I were at the Apple store, and I was telling them how uh, there's this one guy who worked there, and out of jest and not in like a mean way, I said, "This guy looks like he could be like a pro Smash player, like a pro Super Smash Bros. Player." And he was laughing. He like understood what I meant by that. It's like a specific look. And so we were just laughing, and time passes, and like a moment or two later, I pick up my phone and I see 1 minute ago I got a text from a friend asking, "Hey, do you want to play Smash this weekend?" And this is not a friend that I've played Smash with before. We've talked about it months and months ago in the past. We've never brought it up recently. It's been a long time since it's ever come up as a conversation topic. That's one example. Another example is I'm pretty close friends with one of my friend's girlfriends, and we text a lot. So she had sent me something, some article, some link, some message, her thoughts about something that she wanted me to like think about and respond to. I had opened up my phone and I had just responded. I had sent my very first message, and instantly the message that I sent said read at whatever the time was. She was like, "Wait, that was so weird. I literally just opened up the chat to see if you had responded yet." That's like what I had opened my phone to do. And and then I told her about this whole phenomenon and we moved on. I've been experiencing this for a long time. Back a few years ago, maybe 2 years ago at this point, maybe three years ago, was in a relationship where I was dating this girl, and it was long distance. We were very close, and I like to think that she cared for me as much as I cared for her. And what happened is we would text each other throughout the day. We were one of these clingy, annoying couples that would always do that, just spend hours and hours texting per day. I mean, during the day while we were doing other stuff. So she was in college at the time, just like I was, and we went to separate schools. I remember long distance. So there would sometimes be periods where I would wake up and she would go to class, and I would just be doing my own thing. Or in the middle of the day, I would be eating lunch and I would open up my phone. And during all these times, I would think, "Oh, let me text her. This is like that's like what I want to do." And remember, hours could be passing between these events. There was no indication. We weren't texting every minute of the day. It was sometimes it was like the first text of the day or the second, and a lot of time in between. And I would just be like, "Okay, I want to text her. I want to see what she's up to. I just want to say hi." And as I would start typing, I would start saying, "Hey, baby, whatever. How are you doing?" And I would see at the exact moment that I started typing, remember, not as I've sent it, as I would be typing, three dots would start popping up from her. So this means as I think, "Hey, I should send a message," she would start doing the exact same thing. And then we would both like both of our texts would send at the exact same time. We'd be like, "Wait a minute, like what just happened?" We didn't plan and say like, "Oh, we're gonna talk at this time." And there was no reason for that to occur. And this would happen over and over and over and over and over and over again. We would joke about how like, "Oh, this means we're connected. Wow, so cute. Couple, whatever." Um, and and it was interesting. It was funny, but I didn't really think a lot about it. Honestly, it was my first time being that in love romantically, and I remember thinking like maybe this is just something that happens to a lot of couples. And over time, this happened so much that eventually we started saying, "Okay, uh, like whatever, that's like a thing for us. That's how normal it is for us. That's how much we love each other. Who cares? Yeah, we text each other all the time at the same time. We just forgot about it and we moved on. And the relationship ended, whatever. That was a long time ago. But once I started noticing it there, I started noticing it a lot with other people where, for example, I used to box, and my boxing coach, I would be playing video games. All of a sudden, I'd think of him. I'd be like, why am I thinking of him? Um, and then I would see like my phone light up with like a call from him. Um, it would happen with one of my best friends who lives across the country from me. We have no scheduled reason to be talking, no prior context, nothing at all. But I would think of them, and then their names would pop up on my phone. It was so it wasn't just I don't think it was just romantic love. I think it was people that like I have love for in my heart. Love in the much broader sense of loving another human. I want the best for them. I care about them. I want good things to happen to them. I'll go into what that meant and what that led to in a second. But first, I want to address like what must pop up into the mind like as soon as you hear this. You hear this and you say like, "Hey man, this is like I think you're lying. I think it's explainable. I don't. I might believe that you believe everything that you're saying, but it's not necessarily telepathy. I don't think it's like a supernatural power." And I've had this debate with friends before. And like I'm not offended by it. I think it's like a super rational response. In For like a long time, I think if I heard this story from someone else, I'd be like, dude, you're misinterpreting like the events that are occurring, trying to look for like a grander meaning when there isn't one. So I'll go into these arguments, what I've heard, and obviously there is probably more that I haven't encountered yet, but what I've heard and what I've learned to address and how I personally reason it out. So it's probably just a coincidence. I'm gonna be honest with you. It has happened a unbelievable amount of time. Carl Jung talks about this concept called synchronicity. These coincidences happen, in synchronous times, and it's unexplainable. It's just too coincidental to believe. And he talks about this synchronicity as like a phenomenon that will occur. And a lot of people, when they bring this up, they say, as you spiritually progress, synchronicities will occur more and more often. They are a natural byproduct of your spiritual progression. My response to it's just a coincidence. I have experienced this so many times. In the beginning, I gave the two examples with my friends and the ex-girlfriend and my coach and my friend. These are just the responses that I remember right now. This has been occurring over the last 2 years over and over. And this occurs only with people that I care about and I think about a lot, or if I talk to them a lot, if I share a lot of myself with them. And so, yeah. Chaos theory. For example, you might say it's underlying systems of occurrences or systems of rules that exist that are imperceptible or maybe escape like your judgment or your observation. For example, a class schedule. Me and my ex of the time were we were both in school. We both had different class schedules that were completely unrelated to one another. But as a result, we would maybe in this argument naturally develop over time times that we would reach out to each other. And this would be like a phenomenon that would occur through like varying set of circumstances that would lead to each other. So for example, she would subconsciously develop the habit of every time after getting out of science class, reaching out to text me. And I would notice that she would text me around whatever time I had finished history class. Remember, I'm in college. These are fake classes. That I would see a text from her, so I would also feel like reaching out to her. Another one that I came up with, this was hormone cycles. Like, if you talk to someone else a lot, then and you're very close to them, you guys naturally develop like a sort of like withdrawal type of relationship with each other, and you want to reach out at the exact same time. So these are both like explanations of like chaos theory. Chaos theory, just by that I just mean these very complex things that occur all throughout life that are too intense and intricate to observe to ourselves. And so we often will chalk them up to coincidence, but in reality, there's like a very reasonable way to explain it. And so this, in my opinion, is the much better response as an argument. The coincidence thing, it's just, I know to other people that might be more convincing. To me, it's like absolutely like whatever. I know that it's the coincidence has happened too many times for it to be a coincidence. Going into the chaos theory argument, this it took me a long time to reason out. How do you really know? And so what I want to give is the example of karma. Okay, karma is this very understood topic in religion. What I want to use as an example with karma is, let's say you're a thief. Okay, you are someone who steals not only from stores or from like something like that, you also steal from friends. You find a friend's spare $20 lying around, you will just take it just because, like, I don't know, you want it, maybe you even need it, but who knows, but you're a thief. Over time, you will get caught because that's just how crime works. That's how doing the wrong thing works. You can get away with it, but eventually you won't. Eventually it catches you. And then one friend will catch you and they're no longer willing to be friends with you. And then they tell your other friends, yeah, man, that guy's a thief. I wouldn't hang around him. They say, no, man, maybe this guy's wrong. I really like that friend. I don't think he's a thief. I want to trust him. Eventually, you still keep up these type of bad behaviors. If you're a thief, that means you're probably also a liar. It means you're probably also, like, I don't know, a manipulator. Not to get too intense, but eventually you will drive away those friends as well. And so who will you be left with? You will be left with people that believe that your actions are justifiable for the reason that they would also do that themselves. After all, who would want a thief around them unless they're also a thief or, just another generic bad person? And so over time, you'll surround yourself with a community of people who are just as bad as you, and then they will do bad things to you. And so now this kind of completes the cycle of what people are trying to explain with karma. Religious like figures will generously refer to it and talk about it as like a principle of life. And so this is what I want to highlight is we have a religious concept that is completely explainable by science. There is no gap between the two. What that can teach us is anything that's created spiritually or religiously or whatever word you want to use can be written off by some concept of science, by some deterministic pattern that makes this thing occur. I want you to consider this idea or this hypothetical. You're walking one day along the street, you're doing whatever you need to do, you're buying groceries, okay? And you look up and you hear like this voice, this huge voice, and a face appears from the sky. An old man's face with a big beard. And the face says to you, I am God, I am the one creator. Light is born of me. I created all of you. You're all my children. And I love you like no other. And then it disappears. God's completely gone. This guy who says he's God is completely gone. You might say to yourself, hey man, that's proof of God. That means God exists for sure. But there would still be people who would say there are aliens out there or there are humans on the planet who possess such superior technology they can make a face appear from the sky and say things to it. And it's funny that I even say this because, now in the recent past, there's been technology out that you can project visuals into the sky. I remember one famous example was this video game launch where they projected one of their characters into the sky as part of like a promotional event. What this leads us to is even with what we might be able to consider as the most concrete proof can still be explained away. So to go back to the telepathy, to me, I've experienced what I would call enough. I don't know. I am more likely to believe that there is a metaphysical element to our universe than not. A lot of people, especially in America, believe that we are intelligences piloting a body that is the random occurrence of evolution and the Earth's history. And I think it's a very sad way to live life. And that's not me saying that I believe in God so that I don't have to live that way or feel the feelings that would come from living that way. I've found this organically. For a long time, I wanted to believe in God, but I just couldn't. I was a Buddhist because Buddhism was the only way to believe in something higher without having to have faith in like God or a God. But this was concrete proof for me. This was proof of a metaphysical element that exists in the world that we all live in. And with this proof of the metaphysical, I'm willing to take a step into faith. I'm willing to say, you know what? I'll believe. Please show yourself to me. And I hope that if there's anybody else who's out there who says, I also want to believe. I think especially if you go through tough times, you can relate to this. I really wanted to believe for a long time. I wanted something greater than me to tell me it's going to be okay. There's better things out there. There's better things to strive for. So not just for you, but for everyone else in the world. There's better things to strive for. So what would it take for you to believe? Going back to this concept of this idea of what's unexplainable. For a long time, I've been really obsessed with the idea of the Northern Lights. I think they're just unbelievably gorgeous. I think they're probably one of the most beautiful things I've ever seen occurring naturally in Earth. The only way I could ever really describe it is like magical. I think it's like absolutely magical. It looks like something out of a fairy tale. It doesn't look like something that should be on Earth. It feels like if anything magical was going to happen, it was going to happen in the presence of that. So I really want to highlight that word, magical. I hope you can relate to the example. Now, I guess there is an explanation with the magnetic poles. I know that there is an explanation that we have. I don't care. It's not the point. Other people, let's say for now, other people would describe it as magical. Now, what else was magical? The electric light, when it was invented, was magical. Then people understood how it works. You take, whatever the material for the string is, you send current through it, and it lights up. The moving picture, so the movie, was magical. People had no idea what they were seeing. There was an image cast in front of them, but the image was moving, but there was no object there. Magic? But no, now we know that you just project an image using light and then it moves. So there's this pattern of believing things are magical until you can explain it. Without the explanation, we call things magical. In fact, what I'm trying to get to with this is one day the telepathy that I'm experiencing might be experienced by others on a wider phenomenon, and it might be explained. A scientist might come out and do a study on it, on people that experience it, and say, hey, just like dolphins, we have radio wave communication. And it's imperceptible, it's subconscious because our conscious minds haven't adapted to it yet. Or we don't have like a good enough grasp or control over it for it to come up in our conscious minds. So that's why sometimes these people might get that. Does that mean that right now, whatever you imagine or whatever I imagine telepathy to be, we're wrong for thinking that that's magic? Is there no such thing as magic if everything is eventually explainable? Think of something that you might think of as magical. Is it like a wand? Like saying the word Avada Kedavra and then a spell coming out of a wand? One way that you could possibly do that is if you say a word, you have like a metal wand that's wrapped in wood and it projects a light, and then you have a target subject on which some effect will occur through other means, and then you'll say it's a spell. It's like, no, it's magical. So as you can see, whatever occurs, it has to occur through the medium of the world. That means it has to take place in some way. So even if it is magic, magic would still be explained by something. So what I'm trying to get to is the telepathy that I experience to me is proof that there is more to life than what the modern world convinces us that it's contained of. And that a lot of us, including myself, mostly myself, when I say this, want to put life into a little understandable, contained box where this is how things happen, this is how you do something, that's it. It's very simple, it's not very scary, it's not intimidating. It takes all the responsibility off yourself to wonder and care and explore more. And, if you're someone who feels like there has to be more, then maybe that's how, or there would be. So what I want to end this on is I've heard a lot of great teachers in some of my favorite books, YouTube videos that I've seen that are broadcasts of teachers speaking, or unbelievable stories that I've read that at the moment I've said that can't be true, but it is. I've heard all these things from these great people. What's more likely? Are they all lying? Are they all con artists? Or, are we just a little bit scared and simple, egotistical humans that want to make life more simple than it really is? I've found enough to know that I'm willing to believe them. And with that, that's everything, guys. Please, I don't care if you like or subscribe. Please do or don't. I would really, really appreciate if you could just write a comment about the parts that you liked, what you thought could be improved, and anything else like that. Any sort of feedback, positive or negative, you won't hurt my feelings. Thank you so much.